Have you ever seen someone at their lowest point? Someone ignored, pushed aside, treated like they're invisible? It happens every day. But sometimes, something extraordinary occurs. Something that restores your faith in kindness, even in the most unexpected ways. This is a story like that. It starts with a cold day, a slammed door and a man left shivering on the pavement. His name was Daniel, and he wasn't just any man. He was a veteran, someone who had fought for his country, seen things most of us couldn't even imagine. But life hadn't been kind to him after his service. He carried invisible wounds, scars on his soul that made it hard to hold down a job, hard to connect, hard to simply be. Now he was homeless. All he wanted was a moment of warmth, a simple cup of coffee to chase away the biting chill that seemed to seep into his bones. He found himself outside a small, cozy-looking cafe. The smell of coffee and pastries drifted out, a promise of comfort. Gathering his courage, Daniel pushed the door open. The warmth hit him like a gentle hug. He just wanted to sit in a corner, maybe use the few crumpled dollars he had for the cheapest coffee they offered. He wasn't looking for a handout, just a brief escape from the harsh reality outside. He approached the counter, his eyes downcast, feeling the stares of the few patrons inside. He could almost hear their thoughts. He tried to stand tall, tried to mask the shame that prickled his skin. "Excuse me," he began, his voice raspy from the cold and disuse. "Could I just get a small black coffee, please?" The man behind the counter, the owner, looked him up and down, his expression soured, his lips tightening into a thin, unpleasant line. "We don't serve your kind here," he snapped, his voice loud enough for everyone to hear. Daniel flinched. I have money," he stammered, pulling out the worn bills. "I don't care," the owner sneered. "Your presence is bad for business. People come here to relax, not to look at. Well, you. Now get out before I call the police." Humiliation washed over Daniel. Hot tears pricked his eyes, but he wouldn't let them fall. Not here, not in front of these people. He stuffed the money back into his pocket, turned, and walked towards the door, his shoulders slumped. The owner followed him, pushing the door open, and practically shoving him out onto the cold sidewalk. The door slammed shut behind him. The sound echoed in the sudden silence. Daniel stood there, shivering, not just from the cold anymore, but from the sheer cruelty of it. He had faced enemies on the battlefield, endured hardships most couldn't fathom, but this felt like a different kind of wound, a rejection by the very society he had sworn to protect. He felt utterly alone, invisible, worthless. He sank onto the cold concrete nearby, pulling his thin jacket tighter around himself, trying to disappear. He watched people walk by, bundled in warm coats, laughing, heading into the very cafe that had just thrown him out like trash. Each happy face felt like a slap. But Daniel wasn't entirely alone in that moment. Someone inside the cafe had seen the whole thing. Someone sitting quietly in a corner booth, partially hidden by the shadows and a low-brimmed hat. He had watched Daniel enter, hesitant and hopeful. He had heard the owner's cruel words, sharp and dismissive. He had seen the flicker of pain in Daniel's eyes before the resignation took over. And he had seen him being forced back out into the unforgiving cold. This observer nursed his own coffee, but the warmth of the drink did nothing to soothe the cold anger brewing inside him. He didn't say anything. He didn't jump up or cause a scene. He just watched, his gaze fixed on Daniel sitting outside, a lone figure against the indifferent city. There was a stillness about him, a thoughtful intensity. He stayed there for a long time, watching Daniel, watching the cafe owner serve other customers with fake smiles, watching the world go on as if nothing had happened. Who was this silent observer? Why did he care? He looked familiar, in a way you couldn't quite place behind the hat and the quiet demeanor. But right then, his identity didn't matter as much as the feeling radiating from him. A deep, quiet contemplation, mixed with something else, a decision slowly forming. After what felt like an eternity, the observer stood up. He walked calmly to the counter, placing his empty cup down. The owner approached, that fake smile plastered on his face again. "Can I get you anything else, sir?" The observer looked the owner directly in the eyes. There was no malice in his gaze, just a steady, searching look. "Yes," he said, his voice quiet but clear. I'd like to talk to you about this place. The owner looked confused. The cafe? It's doing all right, you know. Good coffee, prime location. It's a nice place, the observer agreed softly. Nice enough that I'd like to buy it. The owner blinked, then he chuckled nervously. Buy the cafe, sir, are you joking? It's not for sale. Everything has a price, the observer stated simply. He named a number, a ridiculously high number, one that made the owner's eyes widen, his fake smile dropping completely, replaced by stunned silence. Are you serious? The owner stammered, looking around as if searching for hidden cameras. Who are you? The observer took off his hat, and suddenly, he wasn't just a quiet man in a corner anymore. He was instantly recognizable. It was Johnny Depp. The cafe owner gasped. Other patrons nearby started whispering, recognizing the famous actor standing right there, making an unbelievable offer. Johnny Depp just smiled faintly. I'm serious, he repeated. I want to buy this cafe. Right now. Name your final price, but let's be reasonable, considering recent events. He glanced pointedly towards the door, towards the spot where Daniel had been kicked out. The owner was sweating now, greed warred with confusion, and a dawning sense of shame. He saw the determined look in Johnny Depp's eyes. This wasn't a joke. This was real. After a moment of rapid calculation, fueled by the astronomical sum first mentioned, the owner named his price. It was high, opportunistic, but Depp didn't haggle. All right, Depp said calmly. Get your lawyer. I'll call mine. Let's do this quickly. The next hour was a blur. Phone calls were made. Lawyers were contacted. Arrangements were set in motion with unbelievable speed. The cafe owner, bewildered but ecstatic at his sudden fortune, scrambled to make it happen. He couldn't believe his luck, though a small part of him felt uneasy under Depp's unwavering quiet gaze. He tried not to think about the homeless man he'd thrown out earlier. Business was business, right? Soon, preliminary papers were signed. Agreements were made. It was happening. Johnny Depp was actually buying the entire cafe. Not for himself, it seemed. He hadn't mentioned plans to renovate or run it. He just bought it. Once the initial deal was secured, Johnny Depp walked towards the door. He paused, turned back to the stunned, soon-to-be former owner. One more thing, he said, his voice soft but firm. You're going to leave. Now. Don't come back. The owner, clutching the promise of a huge payout, didn't argue. He practically scurried out the back entrance, leaving Johnny Depp standing alone in the cafe he now technically owned. Depp took a deep breath. He looked around the space, not with pride of ownership, but with purpose. Then, he opened the front door and stepped back out into the cold. He looked around for Daniel. The veteran was still there, huddled in the same spot, looking even smaller and colder than before. He hadn't moved. He seemed lost in his own world of despair. Johnny Depp approached him slowly, gently. He didn't want to startle him. Excuse me, he said softly. Daniel looked up, his eyes wary. He saw a man extending a hand towards him. He didn't immediately recognize him without the hat, just saw kindness in his eyes. Can I help you? Daniel asked, his voice barely a whisper. I saw what happened earlier, Johnny Depp said quietly. In the cafe, it wasn't right. Daniel just nodded mutely, looking away. What was there to say? It was just another Tuesday for him. I know it's not much, Depp continued. But I was wondering if you'd like a warm place to sit. Maybe have that coffee now. Daniel looked confused. But, the owner, he's gone, Depp said simply. Things have changed. He offered his hand again. Come on, come inside with me. Hesitantly, Daniel took the offered hand. It was warm and strong. He let himself be helped up, his legs stiff from the cold. He followed Depp back towards the cafe door, apprehension warring with a tiny flicker of hope. What was going on? They stepped inside. The warmth enveloped Daniel again, but this time it felt different. There were no judgmental stares. The few remaining patrons looked curious, but not hostile. Johnny Depp led him to a comfortable booth, the very one Depp had been sitting in earlier. Please, sit, Depp urged gently. He motioned to one of the bewildered staff members, who were trying to figure out what was happening. Could we get 2 coffees, please? Black for my friend here. The staff member hurried off, casting confused glances back. Daniel sat down, sinking into the padded seat. It felt unreal. He looked across at Johnny Depp, really looked at him this time, And then recognition dawned. His eyes widened. "You're Johnny Depp," he whispered, shocked. Depp gave a small, self-deprecating smile. "Sometimes," he admitted. "But today I'm just someone who didn't like what he saw." He leaned forward slightly. "Daniel Wright. The owner told me your name before he departed." Daniel nodded, still trying to process everything. Why are you doing this?" "Because nobody deserves to be treated like that," Depp said, his voice filled with quiet conviction. "Especially not someone who served. We forget sometimes what people have sacrificed. We walk past suffering every day. Today I couldn't." The coffees arrived. Daniel wrapped his cold hands around the warm mug, the heat seeping into his skin. It felt like the best coffee he had ever had. They sat in silence for a moment, Daniel sipping gratefully, Depp watching him with a kind expression. Then Johnny Depp spoke again, his tone serious but gentle. "Daniel," he said, "there's something else." Daniel looked up, nervous again. "What now?" "I didn't just get the owner to leave," Depp explained slowly. I bought the place." Daniel stared at him, uncomprehending. "You bought the cafe?" "Yes," Depp confirmed. "Wow," Daniel breathed. That's incredible. Are you going to run it now?" Depp shook his head. "No, it's not for me." He paused, looking Daniel straight in the eyes. "It's for you, Daniel." The world seemed to stop. Daniel felt his heart pound in his chest. He must have misheard. "For me," he echoed, his voice trembling. "Yes," Depp said softly but firmly. "I bought this cafe for you. It's yours." Daniel couldn't speak. Tears welled up in his eyes again. But this time they weren't tears of humiliation or despair. They were tears of disbelief, of overwhelming gratitude, of shock. He shook his head, trying to clear it. "But, why? How? I don't understand. I don't have anything. I can't run a cafe." "You won't be alone," Depp reassured him. "I have people. We'll help you. We'll set it up, get you trained, find good staff, maybe hire some other veterans who need a chance. We'll figure it out. But the point is, this place is yours, a chance for a new start, a place where you belong, where you can be warm, and where nobody," he added, his voice hardening slightly, "nobody will ever kick you out again." Daniel broke down. The tears flowed freely now, washing away years of pain, loneliness, and feeling worthless. He covered his face with his hands, his shoulders shaking. Johnny Depp didn't rush him. He just sat there, offering silent support, a beacon of unexpected kindness, in a world that had seemed so dark just moments before. When Daniel finally looked up, his face streaked with tears, but his eyes shining with a light that hadn't been there before. He saw not just a movie star, but a human being who had seen his struggle, and decided to do something truly life-changing. "I don't know how to thank you," Daniel choked out. "You don't have to," Depp said gently. "Just make this place something good. Make it welcoming. Make it a place where everyone feels they belong." He smiled. "That will be thanks enough." And so began a new chapter for Daniel. It wasn't easy, of course. There was so much to learn, so much to overcome. But Johnny Depp kept his word. He provided support, resources, and encouragement. Experts were brought in to help Daniel learn the ropes of running a business. Renovations were made, not extravagant ones, but ones that made the cafe feel even warmer, more inviting. Daniel, slowly but surely, started to heal. Having purpose, having a place to call his own, having people who believed in him, it was powerful medicine. He worked hard, pouring his heart and soul into the cafe. He hired other veterans who were struggling to find work, understanding their challenges, like few others could. The cafe, once a place of painful rejection for Daniel, transformed under his care. It became known not just for its good coffee, but for its atmosphere of genuine warmth and acceptance. People didn't just come for caffeine, they came for the community spirit Daniel fostered. They came because it felt like a haven, a place where kindness was the daily special. Daniel never forgot that cold day, the slammed door, the feeling of utter hopelessness. But now, it served as a reminder of how far he had come, and a reminder of the incredible, unexpected kindness of a stranger who saw his humanity when others refused to. Johnny Depp didn't just buy a cafe that day. He bought a future for a man who thought he had none left. He gave Daniel back his dignity, his purpose, and a place to finally call home. It's a story that reminds us that compassion can appear in the most surprising ways, from the most unexpected people. It shows that one act of kindness,
no matter how large or small, can change a life forever. And maybe, just maybe, it encourages us all to look a little closer, to see the people others overlook, and to offer warmth instead of coldness, because you never know whose life you might change. What did you think of this incredible story? Sometimes truth really is stranger and kinder than fiction. Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Did this story touch your heart? If it did, please give this video a thumbs up. Subscribe to our channel for more stories like this, and share it with someone who might need a reminder that good people and amazing acts of kindness still exist in the world.
Thank you for watching.